Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are here with a recent 2-day trip recap where the big fish bit.
Yeah, really great quality bluefin, up to 220 pounds. You can see the deck is littered with them. It was a really good bite. Right here, you can see that we had a little bit of an issue with one of these big fish. I'm actually with the angler on the other side. He let the fish take him under the boat, and it ended up wrapping the sonar. And after trying numerous times to get it unwrapped and get around the boat, we just could not get it unhung. So Matt ran around to the other side while I'm hanging out with the rod, and he's trying to control that fish, and he's going to yell to me once he has the fish under control. He finally does, and you can see I'm running down with that rod. I'm telling Josh to go get that line wrapped around, and we're going to cut the line on both sides, and we're going to splice it back together to try to give this guy a chance to reel in his fish.
And so when we talk about splicing, so this is what's happening right here. So this is the new rod that got brought in, this yellow line. So Steve's tying a San Diego, right?
Yeah, we're
On
just
one
gonna tie
side.
San Diego on both sides to each other, and slide it together. It's a really quick knot. Sure, it's not the best knot there is probably, but you don't have time for the best knot in this situation because a big fish is pulling against Matt, and he's trying to just keep it for a second. And so we're just gonna tie this as quickly as we can, a few wraps around. Tie off that San Diego jam and slide him back together. You can see the angler behind me is completely concerned because we just cut his line. Like, we're holding on to that fish, and it could go bad really easily.
Yeah, especially Matt, has to be really careful, make sure that he has a way out if that fish really starts to run. He's doing a great job just holding on right now. You're finishing that second knot. And so the idea is that once the knot is tied, basically they're able to start winding up that slack line and basically fight it on this new rod. And Here we go.
Yeah, you can see the splices in the reel now. The line was a little longer than I would have preferred for tying that San Diego, but when emotions are high like that and you're trying to get it done quickly, you just do what you got to do. And so what we did here is we turned up the drag a little bit heavier because we don't want that splice to come back out. We don't want to risk that anymore. We got it on the reel. Now we have to put a little bit of line on the rod, and Josh is doing a good job of that before handing the angler back his fish to continue the fight.
Right. It's definitely a tricky situation. You want to make sure that you land that fish once that knot is tied.
Yeah, definitely. Once you're holding a line by hand and getting a little bit of a cut from the braid, you're invested. You can see a bunch of fish hanging here, and guys are doing a good job going over and under each other and communicating. Josh, once again, has a fish here. The angler needed a little bit of help moving up and down the rail. Don't be too proud to ask for help. If you can't keep up with the fish, you don't want to get in a situation where we're splicing your line together because you got under the boat. So if you can avoid that and follow your fish, it's going to go a long ways.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, when there's multiple hookups, like we just saw, right, there's multiple fish hanging, every second really counts. Like even, right here, he took the rod back and the fish is just swimming right back down where he came from. And it can be really frustrating for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially because there's 20 other guys that are fishing trying to hook a fish right now because the school has stuck to us. It continued biting. It wasn't just a flash in the pan. So you have to follow it, and you have to be able to stay in front of your fish. Otherwise, you're going to get wrapped up with other anglers who are trying to get bit, who want to catch a fish just as badly as you.
Yeah, it can be intimidating, right? Sometimes when there's multiple fish on, like where do you drop in and, getting a little nervous to not mess anybody else up. But like at the end of the day, it's fishing, get a rod in the water. You're not going to catch a fish if you're not fishing. So get in there.
Yeah, you can see a couple fish hanging on the bow here, and you can tell these are big ones as well, how they're scoped out. The angler in the blue shirt is actually the guy we had the splice with earlier, and this fish was a pain in the butt. He was using a traditional style knife jig basically, where he had a hook in the bottom and the top, which we suggest not to do, and the assist hook hooked in right on the top of the head on the tuna. So he wasn't able to turn the fish and control it. So it was dragging us all over. It took another 15-20 minutes than every other fish that was landed during this stop to get that one in.
Yeah, we just got a couple of comments actually on some of our videos just this week about, kind of proper setup for that. And we don't recommend using a top hook, just using the bottom ones. But, to each their own.
Yeah, I definitely prefer two on the bottom. I've just seen too many cases where it hooks in and it's a really long fight and unnecessary fight. And look at the size of these fish. these are nice quality fish, and if you have a second hook where you can't turn its head, you're going to regret it during that fight when you can't control the fish and limit its circles. And that's probably how that fish got in the sonar.
And you can see these big fish on deck here. Talk to us about kind of fish care and why that hose is up in that fish.
Yeah, so once we get these fish on deck, they're going to try to spike it as soon as possible so it stops flailing around on deck and bleed the fish. After the fish has bled for a little bit, I mean, we're still running around, so the fish is going to be bleeding. They're going to cut the gills to let the fish bleed out on deck, and we're going to try to get through this stop or get through it a little bit if we can. And then we're going to gill and gut all these fish before dropping them into the RSW. You can see I had to dig for that fish and reach down a lot deeper than I'd like to.
Ooh, yeah, I should have seen my face.
Yeah, that's the fish that we spliced right there. We were passing it around back and forth, and we could not turn its head because of that assist hook that's in the top of its head.
Oh, yeah.
That was the reason I dug so deep there, and they're kind of pointing to it where all that was done. But at the end of the stop here, you can see all these beautiful fish coming on deck. All the blood from bleeding them out before we get them gill and gutted and dropped into the RSW. But these are some toads. 220-pound bluefin are no joke. Congrats to these anglers who landed their personal best on this trip. Absolute battle for them.
Man, yeah, that's awesome. You can see this guy. He's super stoked, fist pump and all excited. And, it's such a fun time. If you can get out there, definitely now's the time.
Yeah, June started off with a bang, and it definitely continued. You can see right here, good rail rod technique as they're squatting down to try to lift the fish in the final moments. You see the gaffs out. The angler is in low speed here, trying to gain in smaller increments. That's kind of your go-to towards the end of the fight is when you're using your low speed or when the fish is straight up and down.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go into your low speed too early.
Yeah, for sure. It can cost you a fish if you do it too early when the fish is squirrely still. If it makes a run towards you and you're not able to keep the line tight and the pressure on that hook because you're in low speed, it can definitely shake the hook and come off. So you want to stay in high speed until the end of the fight once you have the fish under control and kind of doing what you know it's going to do.
Here's a floppy one and doing what we talked about. Josh is spiking it and making sure that it's good to go.
Yeah, it's good for the meat. It's more humane. You can see right up the deck here. Johnny's doing a good job rocking on the rail right here, where he's got the grip up on the rail, and he's just got that fish kind of under control in low speed like we were talking about earlier, taking his time, keeping good control of that fish and tightening up the circles.
Overall, it seems like conditions are really favorable. Seems like, the big fish are kind of showing up at night right now too, and, you can see another fish is coming to color, and all these guys are working really hard late at night.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it depends on the length of the trip right now. These fish are a little bit further away, so the longer trips are more favorable for the bigger fish, but there's another area of fish with the school-sized fish that are like 40 to 60 pounds as well, which is just a great sign that there's bluefin all over the coast of San Diego right now that are spread out, different areas of biting fish that anglers are having a chance to land these beautiful fish and take home and have some amazing grade sushi.
And we had a few weekend trips open up, some 3 days. So take a look at our schedule and you might be able to hop on a really good trip here.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you guys out there.